I wrote this letter. I'm about to read that. And that was given back to our library board on our November 4th meeting. They approved that. So at this time, I'd like to represent the library board and read this letter. The library board would like to address parts of the discussion that occurred at the September 10th City Council meeting in a formal letter that outlines our position. In review, the library board selects 2 members who conduct an annual performance review of the library director on an annual basis. The city administrator or city council is not required to perform this review, nor can they, since the library director is not a department head. This is the responsibility of the library board. We strongly urge the city council not to conduct a job review, critique, or make any disparaging remarks regarding an employee's performance for any reason in an open public meeting. The library board is requesting that the city council assign a different council member to have the library portfolio, thereby providing timely responses to the questions or budget concerns brought by a member of the council or the city administration. That person should understand how the library is positioned within the city government, the duties and responsibilities of the library board and its employees outlined by Minnesota state statute, Pelican Rapids City Ordinance, and the Memorandum of Understanding Agreement between the city and library board. I submit this letter formally to the council.
Council discussion?
When you're saying a different board member, what do you mean there?
I didn't mean anything.
Who holds the portfolio?
Who holds the portfolio?
So you're saying Kevin Ballard, who owns the portfolio now, is not acceptable?
I didn't say that he wasn't acceptable. I said we'd like the council to consider assigning a different council member.
Don, could you explain how, around the portfolios, how we, at the beginning of the year, they're assigned?
Yeah, at the first meeting in January, I think the last couple of years, if I remember right, we had a brief discussion about, here's the councilman's portfolios. If you'd like to make a change, you can surely do that, and that's kind of what we plan on doing in January too, where the council can have discussion whether they want to trade portfolios to get a little bit of a different flavor. But really, the portfolios are set up, as I understand it, is if I have an issue or somebody that I need to talk to regarding a different department, whether it's library, streets, liquor store, whatever, then portfolios are my go-to person to have discussions with. That's kind of how they've been used, but and so then in January, again, like I said, it's just a brief discussion about, do you want to switch these around a little bit and assign them differently? I know one of the things that you commented in here in that last paragraph, what I got out of it was assigning somebody different and then going on to explain that person should understand how the library is positioned within the city government, the duties as it relates to ordinances, et cetera, et cetera. And I can tell you that's a confusing thing for everybody. There isn't any councilman sitting here that knows him any better than anybody else. So
we've provided the council with a packet that explains the memorandum of understanding, the city ordinances and state statutes. So if someone reads through that, I think they can be better aligned with working with the library board, and it prevents a lot of disconnect at public meetings. Now, I will say, Kevin attended the November meeting, Councilmember Ballard, and I think I was not there at that meeting. but that was appreciated, and we thank you for that. And I think that's the type of thing that going forward we look for. So these things can be handled, in a very professional way, in a way that honors each person, doesn't create any great divides as far as misunderstanding, and to really bring timely responses back to the council.
We have 2 more council meetings till the first of the year. So then we'll be studying the portfolio, or we'll be reviewing the portfolios at that time again.
Right.
So I guess I wouldn't want to
No.
care to make any changes this evening at this time.
Right.
Well, does the board feel that the library staff are city employees?
They are not city employees. They are paid, as it stands now, Annie and the people, Annie reports directly to the library board. She is not a department head.
But are the library staff city employees?
I can't answer that. I would say, yes, they're paid through the city. In a fashion, they are city employees.
So if they are city employees, anybody in a supervisory role over them would be the department head.
You could call that person a department head, but they report to the library board, not to the city. Now, you have to come around and grasp that idea. That is
That idea.
that is spelled out, so it's not anything I'm here making up. There are ordinances, there are statutes, and there are memorandum of understanding. So it's fairly, clear. It's not something we're making up.
I've never accused you or the board of making anything up. I think there needs to be a clear understanding. You said yourself that you can't answer the question whether library staff are city employees or not.
They are paid through the cities. They are city employees.
They are city employees.
Yes.
So then, in turn, logically, wouldn't their supervisor be the department head?
Yes,
So,
But under the umbrella of the
under
library.
the umbrella of the library board.
so then, as city employees, is it appropriate that one group of city employees has additional benefits over and above other city employees?
Councilmember Ballard, I'm really not here to address those things tonight. I don't have all that information in front of me. I was here to provide a formal response.
Okay. And I appreciate
But
that.
I think questions like that you have, if you remain as a portfolio, we welcome you to those meetings, and we can talk about those meetings at our library board meetings.
Let's see, I've asked, you are now the third library board member that I've asked that same question to, the same questions to. I've gotten a different answer each time I've asked it, including from Wayne Runnigan, who's the library chair. And I think my confusion is, if our employees should be on a level playing field. Would you agree with that or not agree with that? If you're a part-time employee, you should be at the same pay scale as other part-time employees. You should have the same benefit package as other part-time employees. That was my issue. That is my issue.
I have something to add to this. And in fairness to Wayne, when you addressed this at that meeting, both Wayne and myself admittedly stated that we were unaware until we clarified with Danielle that we had some part-time staff being paid holiday pay. As far as pay scale goes, I believe everything, again, falls back to the pay equity study. That's where everybody gets paid. However, on the holiday pay, it came to a surprise to me as well as Wayne.
And myself.
Right, I'm just talking about that evening. And it warrants looking into, and I made that statement that night. Furthermore, I don't know are there any other positions in the city that part-time staff, they work holidays, right?
Yes, if they work holidays,
Then they're paid.
they're paid, holiday pay.
And what we haven't been able to clarify just yet, but I will tell you we're looking at it, is to see what hours, if any, the library part-time staff works on any given holiday. We haven't figured that out yet. I haven't worked with Wayne on it yet. It's been a scheduling thing. It's being looked into, is all I can add to you on that.
Do you know that the library staff currently has the highest number of comp time of all the departments within the city?
I haven't looked at the comp time numbers.
They have
Right now.
over 74 and a half hours of comp time. So, Mike, what do we, as a city, what do we do with comp time? If they don't use that at the end of the year, what happens to it?
Well, generally, it's paid out.
Paid out?
It's paid out with the first paycheck that's issued in December.
So that goes across regardless.
Yes, yes. For the most part, what we try and do is I at the department head meetings, usually beginning in September, October, we start talking about getting the comp time down. Hopefully, my goal is I've shared with all of them, get it down to zero, because we don't want to pay overtime. We don't want to pay it out, have them use it. Now, in a lot of cases, that circumstances would dictate that can't happen. Sometimes, especially in the street department, if we pay it out or are about to pay it out that last paycheck, and all of a sudden we get a snowstorm, they've got comp time right away. But I would also say that the street department is very good at getting it down to zero. All the departments are, for the most part. The only one that hasn't was the police department, and Jeff's got that standing amount that's been sitting there because of the situation that the police department was going through, that it's still sitting there. We're not paying it out because the intent is that Jeff is still going to, when he gets staffed, fully staffed, and his guys are trained in, he will use that.
So it's either paid out or it doesn't roll over at all?
We don't roll it over again. If the library board decides to do something with the vacation, which we don't roll over either, and they did this last year, I believe, they basically, again, it was a benefit that their employees got in being able to carry over vacation or carry over comp time, which we don't do at City Hall.
How many positions at the library occur comp time?
I think it's just the 2 full-time staff. And of the 74 hours, I would think that probably 60-some of that, 50-some of that is just Andy.
Councilman Strand, you have a question?
Dave, you have a sentence in there talking about disparaging remarks. Now, expand on that. Because we've had a lot of hurtful stuff here, and you have a sentence in there. Are you saying that happened, or what? Why would you say that, Dave?
Speaking personally, and also from that meeting, yes, I think there was some criticism of Annie that involved a number of issues. For example, the whole conversation about townships and what townships were contributing, and that she was a cause of that. I think, Kevin, you can claim that one. And I think there was 2 or 3 comments made that night, and so disparaging comments would be a comment that I would make publicly that in some way looks upon her work or what she's doing as ill or in contempt.
Is that,
So